Today I want to take us into a simpler design that we've been doing the past few days, and this idea that sometimes we'll be doing simpler things and then we'll work towards more complex things and then go back to simpler things. And you can draw along with me or you can just watch, however it works for you. Today I'm going to show you something that people in my beginning free motion quilting classes seem to really like. I usually save it for the second half of class after they've gotten sort of like a feel for moving the stuff around their machine. But even if you're not a free motion quilter and you're just here to draw, I think you might like it. Here's a sort of example of it. I found a quilted example and then I left it downstairs. Sorry, don't know what to do about the internet right now, going in and out. Okay, so what you need to know about this design, it's really simple. There's not a lot of rules. Here's the two things you need to know. Making sort of a partial swirl. If the swirl kind of starts around here and it ends around here, it's almost like going around a circle like 3/4 of the way. So you don't close it all the way. And then the other thing you need to know is doing these little U shapes, these little bouncing arcs that just go around what you made. And then when you get to the end of what you made, you can go back the other way. Some people will do this design where they try and like echo each petal that they did. I find that that gets kind of large and unwieldy, but if that's your style, definitely do it. See how it works. For me, I just keep the little arcs about the same on the second row as I did on the first row. So that means there's going to be more of them because we have more area to fill. And then how many times do you echo? As many as you want. It's your choice. You echo until it feels like the time to stop echoing and start something new. So how about I stop here? I could stop anywhere. Well, I'm going to stop here. And I'm going to do the same thing. A little bit of a stem just to get a little bit of away from what I already did. And then that 3/4 circle. And then we'll start putting those little arcs around. Another layer. Some people want to stop here. You could, if you want, you could also go all the way over here to fill in that area. Up here and put a new one. Now before I go into that space, I'm just going to notice that this little tight area here is going to require a little bit of creativity to fill it. And so what I'm thinking is like, how many times can I go in that space? If I go in there once, then I'll echo back out, and I think that's going to fill it up. So the only thing I'm going to tell myself is when it's time for me to echo back out of there, that I fill in that space fully and don't leave any empty, because I'm not really going to be able to fit back in there next time around. So I was here, putting my little arcs here, and then coming up there, filling in that little tight space. I can leave this area open because I could come back around and fill that. It's like a natural place to stop. Can you see how quickly I'm filling up this space? I mean, we just started this like a minute ago and I've already got like 1/4 of the board filled. It goes pretty fast. Let me do one more of these. What if I'm here and I realize, well, I really want to be is over here? Just like spirals, we talked about how you can just like echo around what you already did and get somewhere else. You can totally do that here too. You just echo something that you did and then add another layer. The eye cannot tell that you did that. It all fits in here. So you got where you needed to go. You kept the spacing even. It's cool. Now if you sit down to draw this and you find that yours don't look like mine, here's the things that you're probably doing, because I've seen enough beginners do this design. You're either doing this and coming way out here. You don't need this long of a stem. You can do it, it just won't look like mine, right? So if you're trying to recreate my design, keep the little stem, the little lead off, pretty short, right? No taller than the actual circle itself. And then here's the other thing you'll do. You might do and not realize you're doing it. leaving these big funny spaces here and not coming all the way in. And then that's going to leave these gaps and you're going to be like, why doesn't this look the same? So if you can on your way over, just make sure you get in there and then sneak out and move along. Then you've filled in that space and there's no gaps in there that are like confusing the eye. Okay. Let me leave that up and look at little comments here. I really appreciate you joining. I think everybody's moving a little slower this morning. Nomi Jo says she loves that design. What Harry Potter food did you make? This is very important. And so it turns out most of the food mentioned in Harry Potter is sweet things. And I went along with that. We made chocolate frogs. We have a little mold. We melted some chocolate. We made truffles. The kids didn't like those, and that's fine with me. We made jelly slugs. No, we made flower worms. That's what we called them, which are basically just gummy worms. And then we made lettuce boats in honor of the boats that the kids ride over on their first time going to Hogwarts. What kind of quilting foot do you prefer? Do you like the ones that have a needle bar and hop, or do you prefer ones that are flatter to the fabric? Yeah, I don't like hopping ones because it just makes it harder to see what's going on down there by the needle. So I prefer the ones that stay still. And you can make your hopping foot stay still if you want by just bending that little bar out of the way that the screw on the needle bar is hitting with every stitch, and then you'll have better visibility. Smart, says About Kirsten. I like the even spacing. Me too. And I just find that this design works for beginner brains, and it just covers the space so quickly. I know I already said that, but you know, when you're like behind on a quilt, which is like always, it's really nice to have something to finish it fast. Is there a particular way you cover the area on a quilt top? Do you try to do rows of a design at a time, or just go freely? This is such a good question. So with this design, like many designs, I find that it works best if you're always like flowing around the outside of what you did. So here, let's say this is the edge of the quilt top, I would just be like boink, and then I would think in my head, where would that design be back on the quilt top? It would probably be back on the quilt top right there, and bounce over here. So I'm usually not like gonna go out into space. I'm usually gonna try and fill in these little areas first. I'm doing the same thing again where I'm like, okay, only 2 passes are gonna fit here. You see me, I just did that thing again on the edge where I imagined where it would come back on the space. So then I'd probably come back around and maybe echo all the way over here and work in here. So just always adding around what I've already done. And then so that's like how the design works with itself, but then there's also the question of how it works with the quilt top. So I'll probably try and start somewhere in the middle-ish to avoid a situation where I've quilted all the things around the outside and left a big puddle of unquilted stuff in the middle, which might create like funny puckers that I'm not pumped about having to deal with. I do long stems, Epiphany, hooray! I'm so glad I could transmit that from afar. Thank you for the kind comments on my parenting and not the judgment on all the sugar. What's your favorite thread? I really like Aurifil on my home machine, but I also like silk thread and bottom line and there's another one, Masterpiece maybe. I like a lot of threads. On the Innova, which I've had for like a year, it's been turned out to be a little fussy unless I use the Innova thread, and I just haven't had time to figure out how to fix that problem. You drew it along with me and love it. Hooray! Aw, thanks for joining me this morning, everybody.